the hard truth? Most of you don't actually want mental toughness. You want comfort. You want validation. You want the idea of strength without the brutal, isolating reality of forging it. True mental toughness isn't about feeling good. It's about being an immovable force in a world of chaos, and that terrifies the weak. It's the quiet hum of an engine designed for war, not for show. It's the kind of resolve that makes adversaries pause, not because you're loud, but because you are still. Why do most people fail to cultivate this kind of unbreakable mindset? The answer is simple, yet devastatingly pervasive. They are addicted to external validation. This isn't just about craving a compliment, it's a deep-seated psychological dependence on others' perceptions to define their own worth. They chase fleeting trends and self-help that promise a gentle path to power, a sugar-coated journey to resilience. These are the self-proclaimed gurus selling emotional comfort as strength, offering meditation apps when what you need is a mental boot camp. They mistake emotional expression for emotional mastery. They believe vulnerability is always strength. Ignoring that unchecked, it becomes a gaping weakness others exploit, a raw nerve exposed for anyone to touch. Think about it. They prioritize feeling comfortable over being effective. When pressure mounts, when the stakes are real, they seek solace in excuses, in victimhood, in the collective agreement that it's too hard. This is the soft collective sigh that echoes to boardrooms and locker rooms when a challenge truly demands more. They flinch from confrontation, not just with others, but with their own limitations, their own glaring deficiencies. They refuse to look directly at their fears, opting instead for a comfortable self-delusion, a polished internal narrative that absolves them of responsibility. This isn't building mental steel. It's constructing a fragile house of cards, meticulously arranged, destined to collapse under the first real gale-force wind of adversity. They cannot endure the solitude of conviction, that chilling yet purifying isolation when you stand firm on a truth no one else sees or no one else dares to acknowledge. They recoil from the discomfort of dissenting, of being the lone voice of reason in a chorus of mediocrity or cowardice. They shirk the sheer grind of relentless self-improvement when no one is watching, no one is applauding, no one is even aware of the internal war you're fighting. This is the silent atrophy of the soul, the slow erosion of potential, all for the fleeting warmth of superficial acceptance. Historically, empires have crumbled not just from external threats, but from internal softness, from leaders and populaces alike losing their fortitude in the face of comfort and popular opinion. They traded the Spartan resolve for Athenian luxury, and history, as always, exacted its price. The real edge, the psychological shift that truly scares people, is cultivating an absolute internal locus of control, coupled with an objective indifference to external opinion. This isn't about being emotionless. That's a childish misconception. It's about mastering your emotional landscape, directing your internal state with the precision of a surgeon rather than being a slave to every passing feeling that washes over you. It's about recognizing that emotions are data, not dictators. You acknowledge them, you process them, and then you decide their utility in your mission. This is the difference between being tossed by the waves and becoming the captain who navigates the storm. It's about embracing the brutal, unvarnished truth of reality, no matter how uncomfortable, and then acting decisively. This means stripping away wishful thinking, cutting through sentimentality, and staring into the abyss of facts. It means recognizing that your worth, your capabilities, and your direction are forged from within, impervious to the shifting sands of others' perceptions, doubts, or even praise. You become a force because you are self-contained, self-reliant, and fundamentally unshakable. You don't need validation because your internal compass is calibrated to an unwavering true north. This profound self-possession is unsettling to those who define themselves by external metrics because it's a power they cannot influence, cannot diminish, and cannot control. Consider this: the individual who walks into a high-stakes negotiation, not with aggression, but with an utterly calm, objective focus. Their gaze is steady, almost unnerving in its tranquility. Their voice is even, devoid of any tremor of anxiety or hint of desperation. They present facts, not feelings, laying out their position with the cold logic of a mathematician. They have already anticipated every potential emotional manipulation, every attempt to rattle them, to push their buttons, and they have pre-decided their response. None. They are not impressed by bluster, nor swayed by pleas. Their presence alone communicates a quiet, formidable power. It's not a performance, it's a state of being. The other party, initially attempting to dominate or charm, finds their usual tactics bouncing off an invisible shield. They realize they're dealing with someone operating on a different plane, someone whose internal architecture cannot be breached by external pressure. When faced with a roadblock, this individual doesn't complain. They analyze, adapt, and execute. While others panic, their movements become more deliberate, their problem-solving more precise. This isn't practiced bravado. It's the deep-seated confidence of someone who has stared down their own fears in the crucible of self-discipline, who has put in the unseen reps, the lonely hours of mental and physical conditioning. It's the quiet triumph of someone who has accepted that discomfort is not merely a consequence, but the price of progress. Think of the entrepreneur who, after multiple failures, faces widespread skepticism, perhaps even ridicule. Instead of collapsing into self-pity or abandoning their vision, they simply refine their strategy. They cut out every non-essential, every comfort, every distraction. They sleep less, work harder, and refuse to engage with the naysayers who whisper warnings of doom. They operate from a place of quiet, almost terrifying certainty, not because they are arrogant, but because they have done the internal work. They have calculated the risks, accepted the potential losses, and committed to the process with an unwavering, almost monastic devotion. Their unwavering pursuit, their ability to remain unfazed by setbacks that would shatter lesser individuals, to make decisions based purely on objective data rather than hope or fear, is what sets them apart. It's this deep internal certainty that makes them formidable. They embody what the Stoics understood millennia ago. You cannot control external events, but you absolutely control your response. This level of self-mastery is intimidating because it reveals a person who cannot be bought, cannot be bullied, and cannot be bullied broken by external circumstances. They exist in a state of self-generated power, a self-contained ecosystem of will and execution. They are a self-generating engine, fueled by internal conviction, not external praise or fleeting emotional highs. This mental toughness manifests in concrete actions that reshape your reality and how others perceive you. Asterisk, the ability to say no decisively when others demand your time or energy for their unproductive drama, their endless complaints, or their poorly considered ventures. It's a no that isn't defensive or apologetic, but firm and unambiguous, establishing boundaries that command respect. Asterisk, the discipline to stick to a plan. Asterisk, when every fiber of your being screams for ease, for distraction, for the path of least resistance. It's the silent grind when motivation wanes, when the excitement of the initial idea has long faded, leaving only the stark demand for consistent effort. Asterisk, the courage to stand alone, to hold an unpopular but correct position, when the crowd is baying for conformity, when the pressure to yield is immense. This is the mark of true leadership and integrity, a beacon in a sea of compromise. It means understanding that true respect is earned not through being liked, not through being agreeable, but through demonstrated competence and unwavering resolve. Likability is fleeting. Respect, forged in the fires of consistent action, is enduring. It means showing up, doing the work, and letting your results speak for themselves, without ever needing to explain or justify your methods or your struggles. Your actions become your loudest, most undeniable statement. It's about developing an unflinching gaze at reality, acknowledging your own faults and the harshness of the world, and then deciding with absolute clarity to act anyway. You do not seek comfort. You seek the edge. You do not seek validation. You seek mastery. You understand that your ultimate power lies in your complete control over your own mind, your own reactions, your own narrative. This is the difference between a soft mind that bends to every breeze and an iron will that stands defiant against the storm. It's the difference between being a victim of circumstance and the architect of your destiny. So the challenge: stop seeking comfort. Start actively seeking discomfort. Embrace it as the anvil upon which your mental steel will be forged. Confront the hard truths you've been avoiding about yourself, your habits, your relationships, your potential. Identify the internal narratives that hold you hostage, the excuses, the self-pity, the limiting beliefs. Are you willing to lose the approval of those who prefer your weakness, who are comfortable with your mediocrity? Are you prepared to face the mirror and confront the soft spots in your own character, the areas where you've compromised, where you've let yourself off the hook? The choice is yours. Remain a leaf, blown by every wind, fragile and transient, or become the bedrock, unmoving, unwavering, a foundation upon which empires can be built. The price of this power is high, constant vigilance, relentless self-discipline, the willingness to endure isolation, and the courage to shed old, weak versions of yourself. The reward is absolute self-mastery and the profound, intimidating respect it commands. Begin today. What's the first uncomfortable truth you will face head-on?